And we are looking at our in-class week 7 exercise. So it's week 7, it's cash budgets. And we're here with our Monday class, just so everyone knows. And we are going to go through now. So as we just talked about in our lesson, we are looking at how we are collecting our money. So this is all about cash budgets and how much money we'll have available to us. So this is the style of question. You will be given the marketing department will forecast the following sales number for you. So these are the amounts of money that we'll have to use. We will have 2 sets of ways that we receive money and pay money. So the credit manager has provided the following information. So every time that we make a sale for these kind of businesses, we'll take 25% of the money up front. 60% of it is collected after 30 days, and then the remaining 15% after 60 days. Now, as I explained, this is not really true in your vacation transient customer for many of these resorts. These are usually only big business, large conferences and events, weddings, things like that. This is typically not, you come and stay for 2 nights, you pay upon checkout. So that's different with that kind of business. We also have a cost of sales in which we pay. So same way that we tell the customer that, hey, we don't want all of your money right up front, our suppliers, so it could be our food and beverage suppliers, will also give us that advantage where they say, hey, we don't need all of your money up front. Just pay us 30% of the goods on purchase, and then you pay the rest of 70% 30 days later. And the reason that business does this for each other, because they also know that we're not collecting all of our money up front. So it'd be hard for us to pay for stuff all up front. So we've kind of made these relationships with people. And it works. There's also some monthly selling and administrative expenses. So these are fixed. These are every single month. And then I might also give you a couple of pieces of information that are just expenses that just happen. So we looked at last week, when we looked at cash flow statements, a couple things might pop up. So new equipment purchase or taxes. And then it tells you the cash balance. So this is a reminder part. So cash sales is 25, 60, 15, and purchases is 30 and 70. All of our revenues are right up here for us, so we don't have to keep scrolling up. And the past months, which we will need to find out some information on, are located right here. So you should be able to go. I have already gone through and input all of the salaries and telephone and all that good stuff. Because they're fixed, it's really easy to budget. We know that we have to pay this every single month. And then you can also go ahead right now if you wish and put the taxes and equipment in. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Taxes is $5,000 in March. And a purchase of equipment in January for $22,000. So March, I just go $5,000 here and $22,000 for equipment. Okay, so let's start at the top. So because we're in Excel, this will be much easier. We can create lovely formulas for this. So what I'm going to do is say, my cash sales will be 25% right away of the revenue in that particular month. So it'll just be 85,000 times 0.25, enter. And what I can do is I can copy and paste this formula all the way across because we know it's not going to change. And all of these numbers here that you're seeing should be 25% of the number above it. So that is how much we're getting right away, immediately. Then we have our 30-day payment. So in 30 days, we're going to get 60%. So of the $85,000 in January, we are getting 60% of that, but not till February. So you're going to say 85,000 times 0.60. And again, you should be able to pull this over, and 51,000 should be 60% of 85. 69,000 should be 60% of 115, and 78,000 should be 60% of 130. And then finally, we'll do our 60-day payment. So we'll have to start here, which is 60 days from January. And 85,000 times 0.15, so that's 15%. And I can only pull that over once. You can keep on going because this would be May, June, July, and so on, but you wouldn't have to for this assignment. Okay. If you ever want to double check, because Excel is so great, I might add up this diagonal line of all of these. These are all January payments right here. They go in this wonderful down diagonal line. And if I add them all up, it should equal 85,000, which it does. So that's great. So I just know I've done my math right, and I've split them up properly. Okay. And now we also need to find out the 30-day payment from for January. Or the amount of revenue that we're going to bring in. So 30 days ago in January, it was December. So in December, we had $40,000. So we will get 60% of that $40,000. As well, in February, we will get 15% of that $40,000. And then the final one that we need to do is our 60-day payment. So if I'm in January, 60 days ago was November, and I'm getting 15% of that amount of money. So this can be the confusing part, I suppose, for you. This is fairly straightforward as far as I'm taking this amount of money and I'm splitting it up over 3 payments over 3 months. Here, you might have a little bit more difficulty as far as remembering that 30 days ago is December, I get 60%, and just finding out where that amounts go. So all of a sudden, we have all 4 months and all the different types of revenue that are coming in, and we can just add them up. So I'll just do a quick sum function and add them up and pull this. Whoops. Don't add the very top line in. So just these 3, and I'll pull this across. Okay. Now what you will notice, and hopefully what you'll notice, is that in January, we sold $85,000 worth of goods and services. We only get $49,750. This is why cash flow is so important. We don't necessarily know how much of the money that we sell month to month that we're going to get. So if I set up a bad payment schedule, let's say I said I only want 5% up front, and I don't need the other 35% until 60 days from now, I could be in a lot of trouble in January because I still need to pay $20,000 for salaries and telephone, and I bought $22,000 worth of equipment. I'm getting very close to what this cost is going to be. So I could be in trouble. So this is where you got to really watch it if you are setting these up or if you're trying to manage these. But you'll also see in some months, let's say April as an example, I'm actually collecting more money than I sold because of some of this money from previous months is now coming due. Okay. So let's look at the cost of sales. So cost of sales is 50% of our revenue. So if that is actually easy to understand, it probably is, of our revenues. Okay, so cost of sales is 50% of revenues, 30 of which is paid upon purchase, 70 of which is paid 30 days after. So cost of sales is this number times 50%. And we're doing the same thing. Cash sales is 30% right away and 70% 30 days after times 0.70. And I can pull these across and pull these across. And I only need to find out in December, my purchases were 20,000 and I owe 70% of that. So purchases times 0.7. Let me change your formatting if that's throwing you off. Whoops, a daisy, don't do that. I don't know if that makes it easier to see. Okay. Important thing to note is that this is just the amount. This is not actually what we're paying. So if you need if you want me to highlight that, just to kind of keep it separate, the cash disbursements. So that's how much cash we'll actually be spending, which is just this column here, the 30 days and the immediate. So I can add that up. Again, a couple things that you'll see. We would have spent $42,500 in January, but we only need to pay not even $27,000 of it right away, which is good because we're not collecting nearly as much in January as we hoped. And then same, we spent $57,500, or we ordered that much, and we only had to pay $47,000. And as you go, you eventually see the same kind of thing where in April we only spent $60,000, but we end up having to pay $63,500, and I'm assuming May would be even worse for us. So this gives you an idea of money in and money out, revenue in, cash out, and what we want to come up with is our cash surplus or deficit, which is just the difference of our monthly cash receipts minus our cash disbursements. So this is how much money every single month we are pulling in. Any questions before we move on? Thank you. Okay. So now we got this certain amount of money. This is our cash surplus for every month, which is great. We have another set of cash disbursements, which are just our monthly expenses. So what this is going to be is a adding up of all of these different things. Now, I only have 6 or so different columns in here. I hope you understand that this could be, 50 different lines. We don't really know what it could be. It could be marketing and internet and groundskeeping and all kinds of different stuff, as well as the ways that we bring in revenue. But this is a fairly basic way to look at it, just to wrap your head around how these things work. So I will click and drag, and this is just us adding up every single month. Generally, our fixed costs seem to be $23,800, unless we add in a couple different unforeseen costs, which would be taxes in March and maybe some new equipment in January. So now what we're going to do is we are going to, this is just a simple put in our cash amount here. So I think this will work. Yep. Put in our expenses here, which is just the cell above it. And we're going to do some math. So our ending bank balance will be $15,000 that we started with, and that was listed at the very top of the problem. Adding your cash surplus, subtracting your expenses, and it gives you an amount. Then this negative $7,800 will have to go up here. So I can just go equals, and we'll do the same thing. Now we're up 7,150. And I can click this formula over one more time, and there you go. So as we're looking at it here, in the beginning of the month, because we purchased this equipment in January, we have $7,800 in the negative. Now the thing as a business, you can't just go in the negative. Doesn't work like that. So we need to figure out a way. So what do we do in this instance? What could we do? Did I just hear a cat in the background or a child? So definitely a cat. I mean, your child. Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're non-fur babies. Okay, so yes, so what you could do, yeah, for sure. You could say, hey, I got a lot of money coming in. Can I somehow pull in more? Now, that's a very easy way, but let's assume we can't. We signed a contract. These are the terms. They're probably not going to give you money until they owe it to you. Business are like that. They won't give it to you until the minute that they owe it, because they make money they make interest, and they have it in investments, and there's no benefit for them paying you early. So what else could we do? Well, we just have an issue in January. Yeah, we have an issue in January where we're not going to have enough. Yeah, so you might be able to do that. So let's say we get rid of this, and because Excel's so great, I can just delete this, and it'll change my numbers. So at the end of even February, we'll have $29,000 in the bank. So I could put the $22,000 in February. Okay, so it's 7150. There we go. Everything seems to work out. Now, I'm assuming I bought the equipment in January because I needed it. So let's say it's COVID protocol safety equipment. I'm not going to be able to open unless I put this investment in, which is a very likely thing that could be happening. So these are your glass shields around front desk and your sanitation stations and your taping and all of your different things that you need to do. I invest at $22,000. So I can't change my expenses. I can't change the amount of money that I get in. I guess you could contact some of your suppliers and say, hey, give me 30 more days? But assuming that's not possible either, we're only left with one thing that we can do, which is a financing activity, right? So we need money. How do we get money? How do you get money if you need to go to school? Get a loan. Yeah. So this is what we talk about when it comes to financing activities and these cash budgets, is that there will be instances where I can get a loan in December or January because I know in April I'll have $70,000 in the bank. I'm not really worried about it. So maybe I'll get a 3-month loan for $22,000. So it could be you would have to have a loan expense. So I'm not going to ask you to fill this out and change these diagrams, but what I might ask you on a test is give me an answer and say, hey, what's going to happen? What are you going to do? So what I'm going to say is I'm going to get a loan. So it's just going to inject $22,000. And I'll just put it right here with my beginning cash balance. So I'll say plus $22,000. Whoops. Plus $22,000. Okay. I did that in the wrong spot. So now we're starting with 37,000, which means that we're good in that month. We don't go negative. Everything is fine. But there will also be a loan expense now, right? We don't just get a loan for free. Let's say we made a deal and that we're going to borrow in January, but we have to pay it back by the end of April. But we also have to pay it back with some interest. Now, I don't know how much, but let's just say we borrow $22,000 and they want $25,000 back by the end of April. And as a business owner, I'm like, okay, I'll have money in April. That'll be fine. So what I would do is have to divide that by 4 months. So you say, okay, that divided by 4 months, $6,250. Then every single month, this is what I would have to pay back in order to make sure I pay back my loan. I think I just need to change this. There we go. And pulling that across. Now I'm going a little bit farther than I'm asking you to, but I just want you to see how these kind of things work, where I don't want to just leave you with a negative and be like, hey, well, you have to get money, but I'm not telling you how. Here, I would say, okay, now you had a negative, you're going to need to fund yourself. At the end of month 4, I think we had $70,000-ish and change. Now we're only going to have $67,800 because we had to pay about $3,000 extra to have that loan, but we're not going in the negative. We're making payroll. We're paying our suppliers, and a bank would have no problem lending us $22,000 if they're going to make $3,000 off it. They would probably be fine with giving us $22,000 and we'd only pay them back $23,000 over 4 months. That's still a really good rate of return. So this gives you an idea. This is a cash budget. You have, at the end of the day, what I want you to understand is that there will be periods of time in all business where you might have negatives. And it doesn't mean that your business is going to fail, but it means that you need to come up with some inventive solutions to ensure that you can withstand the business cycle of a year, its ups and its downs. And right now, I guarantee you, every hotel and resort and hospitality enterprise and restaurant are borrowing money. They are taking the government payouts where applicable. They're taking loans. They're selling equipment. They're withholding on equipment expenses. They're laying off people, so they're cutting their salaries. When we opened back up, I went to a Wild Wing for a pound of wings with my fiance, and they cut their whole TV package, so they didn't have any TVs because they were closed. Like, those are the things that people are doing to ensure they have some cash flow. Any questions? Okay. Oh, I can stop recording that.